It might go against everything you've been taught, but these tips have helped me make well over $10 million in sales, despite also being an introvert who used to hate selling. In fact, it was this first tip that really changed the game for me. And it was all about dismantling the know, like, trust advice that almost everyone talks about. If you haven't heard of it, it's essentially the marketing concept that people are more likely to buy from a brand that, you guessed it, they know, like, and trust. But the problem is that people often misinterpret this advice to mean that you should first focus on building your trust with your audience before you can even think about selling. So now this has become an unwisdom to give away lots of value for free before you even dare to sell. But the problem with doing that is it's actually incredibly harmful, because then your audience gets used to you not selling and almost starts even expecting you to just give free content. Now, don't get me wrong, building your know, like, trust is important, but it's also not the main reason that people will buy from you. The main reason goes back to the foundation of sales itself. People buy because they believe that you can help them get what they want. That is the most important connection piece, because all healthy customer relationships bloom from that exchange. That's why, in my opinion, and in my decade of experience building a multi-million-dollar business, the best way to build that know, like, and trust factor is through sharing how you can help, aka selling. This is tip number one. But I also know that you might hear this and feel, for lack of a better word, icky about this, because maybe you're scared of being seen as too salesy or pushy. Hey, I was taught growing up that selling was something that good people like us did not do. So I hear you. And if that's how you're feeling, let me share one of my favorite sales philosophies that might help you feel a lot better about selling. It's called making your skeletons dance. The term originates from playwright George Bernard Shaw, who said, "If you can't hide the family skeleton, you might as well make it dance." Then sales trainer Barry Marr took that phrase and fine-tuned it for selling to make it about being completely upfront about your faults, aka things you see as skeletons, and in doing so, make them work for you. So not only are you acknowledging your skeleton, but you're also turning it into a reason to buy. I think that's genius. For example, a lot of people think of having something to sell as a skeleton. So, all right, let's be upfront about that. That's why when I first started on TikTok, I literally put in my bio as an intro, yes, I sell courses. Because so many people, especially on TikTok, are like, oh my gosh, you sell courses? So scammy. I respect that, but I don't think so. So I'm not trying to hide that I have things to sell. In fact, I sell them because I believe they can help people. And I'm pretty sure you feel the same way about your products and services too. The key here is just to be upfront about what you're here to do. You're gonna give great free value and paid value. That's what it boils down to. And this way you're also communicating, hey, I've got nothing to hide, which also attracts people who want to buy while repelling people who don't, which in my book is a win all around. Plus, honestly, think about this. When I see someone being upfront about what they have to sell, I actually trust them more. But on the other hand, when I see someone doing just free content, or they're even bad-mouthing people who dare to have something to sell, and they're like, I'm just doing this out of the goodness of my heart. Come on, cue that Don't Be Suspicious song.
Don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious.
Plus, I feel like these days, you can't go online without seeing an influencer who isn't being transparent about what they're paid to promote. To me, that is scammy. Because it's like, what's your end game here? Let's not pretend that we don't all need to make a living, which is where tip number 2 comes into play. It goes against the idea that you can only occasionally, gently sprinkle in sales so that you don't overwhelm people or come off as inauthentic. Because there's this unwisdom that you lose trust when you sell. But in reality, when you sell, that's a clear sign that you are committed and you've actually got skin in the game. That's why tip number 2 is to sell, and sell often. If this makes you cringe, let's examine that. Because the most common reason selling gets all twisted is when it feels like you're trying to do a bait and switch, or if you have to be pushy or trick people into buying. If you've been in my world, LZ land, for any amount of time, you know that is not how I sell. So that's also not what I'm gonna teach you to do either. Because your business has to feel good to you. Instead, you are simply gonna make it clear frequently that your free content is free. And it's awesome. And you also have something even more awesome to share as well, your paid offer. People get to choose whichever option they want. Your job is to provide the 2 options and explain the value of each. When you come at sales from this place, it truly is about helping people. But if that's how you're approaching it, why would you delay offering that help? Unfortunately, common unwisdom tells you to do just that by nurturing your audience for a long time before you can sell anything. Essentially, butter them up with the free stuff first. Then, once they're fully nurtured, then and only then is it appropriate to share your paid offer. It kind of makes sense in theory, but in my decade of actual experience, I have seen the exact opposite to be true. Because here's the thing. Your customers are smarter than this advice would have you think. They found you because they were looking for a solution. So they want to know how you can help them. In fact, the best customers are fast action takers. They want a solution and they want it now. Thinking that they need to be led into a sale or waiting to sell to them until you are ready is silly. If you truly believe that what you're selling can help your dream clients, let them know ASAP. Otherwise, they'll go off and find someone else to help them. And that is why tip number 3 is don't nurture your audience. If you're on my email list, which by the way, if you're not, you probably wanna be. People often share that my emails are their favorite. You'll see that I practice what I preach. If you want to see this in action, you can sign up at luisazhou.com. When you go there, you'll also see some free trainings to choose from, depending on whichever stage you are in your business. And then you'll start receiving my daily weekday emails, which by the way, generate 7 figures per year in my business. Because in every single email, I always let people know how I can help them further. But to be clear, that does not mean I am just hard selling Monday through Friday. In fact, I am not. I share free stories, insight, and advice that help people to build their own dream business. And then I also make it clear that if you want more help, here are my courses. The key is I don't pick and choose which email I'm selling in based on how I'm feeling, because you never know when your audience is ready to buy, and they are what matters. It all comes down to this. Making sales isn't about your timing, it's about your customers. And people want to buy when they want to buy, which means that the right time for you to sell is always right now. But if you have been trying to sell, yet aren't getting the results that you want, it could be that you're doing all the right things, but missing the other half of the equation. That other half is just as important, which is why in this next video, I walk you through how I reprogrammed my mind to be able to make over $10 million in sales. It's one of my most popular videos on this channel, and I think you're gonna find it helpful too.